Hey you guys, what's going on? Daniel Dallas here. Okay, we're gonna go through revision for quadratic functions, and to be precisely, we are going to try to convert standard form into the vertex form. Okay, here are a set of questions. Actually, you can have a print screen, pause the video, try to go by round. You need to find the vertex form for the following functions. Alright, so I'm zoom in. So vertex form for the following functions. Okay, so and if you've done that, we're just gonna go to revise, and I remind you that first of all we need to remember the standard form for quadratic equation is the following: x squared plus bx n plus c, coefficient a, b, and c. So vertex form. So that's standard form. And for the vertex form, we have the same coefficient a, but it's factorized x minus h, where h is the x vertex coordinate, and plus k. So that's the vertex form, where h, k are the coordinates for the vertex. Alright, so I just remind you that the vertex is the minimum or maximum point for the parabola. So that's graphically, but actually it's turning point where the graph has a turn. Okay. All right, let's get started, and just I'll remind you one more time how to convert into the vertex form. There are two ways. Okay, I will use completing the square for the first one. Let's do it. So we'll do it by completing the square. Here I will use that approach. All right, so completing the square. Just it's based on the formula, as you remember, plus minus b squared equals a squared plus minus 2ab, and finally you need to add b squared. So that's why we're looking for that. All right, let's get started from the first one, and we've got that. We have x squared term, so that's why we leave. Then we need to, according to the formula, to the first term multiplying by the second one. So we need to have plus, because we have plus 5x, so we just keep track and just trying to consider only the first two terms. Instead of 5x, I'm writing according to the formula 2, then goes x, and then because we still have 5, so we cannot like get rid of 5, we put 5 and we divide it over 2. Why? Because again, one more time, 2 and 2 will be cancelled and we'll leave with 5x in the end. Alright, so I erase cancelling, just move back. And now let's consider what this is. So b squared, we need to have this term, is just a number, but in the product 2ab, so 2a we've already got is this one, and the rest part, this is b. So according to the formula, this is b. So this is a squared, so we need to add 5 over 2 squared and immediately subtract this in order not to change our equation. And finally, we need to add 4. All right, so we've got that one. And now let's simplify. But I highlight that here in the brackets, we've already got the formula for a plus b squared. In this case, x is a, and we add 5 over 2, which is b. Okay, we square it up. Then we simplify the rest part, just numbers. 5 over 2, which is squared, we've got negative 25 over 4. And in order to add with 4, so actually we can leave like 4 and subtract 25 over 4 by using calculator. I'll show you how to do mentally. So instead of 4, I want to have denominator 4. So what I'm going to have on top, obviously, 16, right? Because 16 over 4 is 4. All right. And so finally, what we've got here, we've got that, I just rewrite this in the bottom part, what we've got here, we've got that vertex form. Y is simply x plus 5/2 squared. And here's just, you need to subtract 16 minus 25, which is negative 9/4. And that y, we have the vertex form for my function, for the first function. So the first is completed. So by the way, if you want to find the vertex coordinate, it's just h and k. So here we have the following. So because normally in the formula we need to subtract h, but here is plus, so h is negative, right? And that's why h is negative 5/2. You can check yourself. So if you put instead of x negative 5/2, you need to have 0 here when x is negative 5/2. So if you write like accidentally instead of negative 5/2 positive 5/2, you won't get 0, right? So that's 0 when x is negative 5/2. That's the first coordinate, x coordinate, and k automatically becomes negative 9/4 again, because in the formula we need to add k. Here is subtraction, so k is negative. All right, negative 9/4. Okay, and we successfully determined the vertex coordinate. Okay, so here, in this case, we need to do the following. First of all, let's rearrange so that normally we need to have negative 2x squared as the first leading term, and then we add 15x. Okay, so which way we can do that? Okay, so let's pretend. So now I will use another way around, and I just simply calculate x vertex. So I'll do that through the vertex. Okay, so I'll calculate the vertex is negative b/2a, and so x vertex is simply means I'm calculating h. Okay, in our case, a is negative 2, so b is 15. All right, I'll just do that, and if I plug the coordinates, if I plug the numbers, I'll get negative 15 over negative 2 times 2, so got negative 4, and finally I'll get 15/4. All right, so next part, I need to calculate k value. So how to calculate k? So k is the y vertex, right? And y vertex is simply y, your function from x vertex. In our case, x vertex is simply 15/4. And if you plug 15/4 into the formula, instead of each x, which stays here and here, we simply get the following. All right, so I'll use my calculator in order to do that quick. So we've got negative 2 times x squared, which is 15 squared over 4 squares, or that way. And we need to add also 15 times 15/4. Okay, that's our y vertex. Let's calculate. So 15 squared, 225. So we'll get negative 2 times 15 squared, which is 450 with negative sign over 4. And then we add 225/4. So we subtract 225. We've got 225 and over 4. Oh, we'll get some decimal, but okay, we'll leave as the fractional number. 225 with negative sign over 4. That's my result. That's y vertex. All right, so we've got y vertex, which is equal negative 225/4. Okay, and that stays for k. So finally, we've got the vertex form, which is 8 times x minus h squared plus k. So we just write this according to our formula. So y in the vertex form will be a times x minus h squared plus k. If we rewrite this using a as negative 2, we'll get negative 2 times x. Your h is 15 over 4, so minus 15 over 4, which is squared. And then we need to add k, and k is negative 225 over 4. That's the vertex form, okay? We've got that two answers. So that's for the first one, and this, so for the second one, that's the final answer. So I hope that you will get the same. However, if not, so try to watch like with pause and try to keep track with it, you know, on each step I'm doing here. If it's not like, if it doesn't work for you guys, anyway, my tips for any GCSE practice and revision, if you're weak in some topic, just go back, watch the theoretical basis, try to see how it works on examples, and only then come back for revision. You know, because like, you know, many students want to get it for like 1 minute. Yeah, so if you're pretty smart, you can do it. But if you're like have some troubles with, you know, understand, you probably had like bad explanation at your school, and this is the common problem for education. So of course it depends on the teacher. However, what I heard from my students, that's the real common problem for them. All right, so that's why just keep watching clearly. All right, so and we've got the last one, which is negative x squared plus 6x plus 7. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'll use a standard form and I'll use vertex form. So I will write that in the vertex form. My a is negative 1, so I immediately can put minus. In the brackets, I'll put x minus h squared and plus k. That's my vertex form. And here I'll show you how to do it in another way. So I'll get this as the sample for my vertex form expression. And now what I'm going to do, I want to use expansion or expansion approach. So I want to expand the vertex form, and come back to what I have here. So I just want to, you know, compare this expression with an equivalent but written in the vertex form. All right, so what I'm going to do is simply apply the formula minus x minus h squared. So I'll get x squared minus 2, it's better to write 2h and then x, and plus h squared and plus k. Okay, so for those who don't understand why is this so, just simply try to multiply x minus h by itself, okay? And let's simplify. We've got negative x squared, then we've got positive 2hx, and finally what we've got minus h squared, and finally plus k. Okay, so this is the expanded vertex form. All right, let's compare it with what we have. So my y from original standard form is negative x squared. Of course, that should be. The leading term should be the same, because then plus 6x and plus 7. All right, now let's do that quick. So 2h should be 6, right? And that's why when we write this, we can figure out that h is simply 6 over 2, which is 3. Okay, so we know h. And the last combination, which is here, minus h squared plus k, should be equal to 7 here. So we just write minus h squared plus k should be 7. In this case, if we plug 3 instead of h, we can figure out that k is simply 7. First, transfer negative h squared here, we'll get plus h squared, so plus h squared is 9, all right? And we've got 16. So we've got all the coefficients, h and k. So now we just can come back to the vertex form, to the general vertex form here, and using h and k values, so h is 3, k is 16, we can plug back and figure out the real true vertex form for our case. So it will be negative x minus 3 squared and plus 16. So if you want to make sure that you did it correctly, how to check it? Let's check it quick. So check. I just want to expand it back. So I've got minus x squared minus 6x plus 9 and finally plus 16. Okay, what I've got is minus x squared plus 6x and finally minus 9 plus 16, which is actually 7. So we've got the original form and that's why it's true. So all is correct. All is correct. Hope you guys enjoyed that short video dedicated to the revision. So that's why I decided to make it very short. However, I demonstrate all the ways how you can approach when you want to convert standard form into the vertex form. And in the next video, we'll just be talking about how to convert vertex form back to the standard. So this is the reciprocal procedure or reciprocal process. So that's why we can do that almost using the same approaches, the same methods. Just remember how I did it in theoretical when I explaining theoretical basis. Okay, so hope you like that. Hope you like my style of explanation. So I'll decide to use grid lines. Maybe it somehow like arrange my writing, because sometimes I just notice that my writings is scaling up as just a real function. So guys, excuse me for that, and I hope that grid lines also work for you. So make sure that you understood this topic in full and completely, and only then you just need you may go to vertex form back to the standard. Okay guys, I was really enjoyed explaining that. Hope this is the clearest explanation. So because actually everything in details. Any questions, any comments, please drop me and I'll give you feedback. New videos per request, so you're welcome guys. Just again let me know, notify, and I'll try and I start doing that immediately. Okay, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget share this video to anyone, and peace you out.